The party was in full swing, a symphony of laughter and lively chatter, but for Alex, the noise was a suffocating blanket. He stood in a corner, clutching a drink, acutely aware of every glance, every conversation fragment that might be directed his way. His heart hammered, his palms grew slick, an overwhelming, visceral urge to simply vanish, to melt into the wallpaper, pulsed through him. He longed for the quiet anonymity of home, for a world where he could simply exist without being seen, judged, or expected to perform. This gnawing desire to disappear, this profound avoidance of being noticed, can consume one's life, turning social interactions into agonizing performances. It's a silent plea for invisibility, a desperate attempt to become part of the background, to escape the harsh spotlight of human attention. This profound impulse echoes through the natural world, in creatures whose very survival depends on their ability to blend seamlessly into their environment, to become nothing and everything all at once. Imagine the mimic octopus, a creature of astonishing intelligence, not merely changing color, but transforming its very shape, mimicking. Venomous sea snakes or flatfish, a master of deception, whose ultimate goal is to not be noticed, to disappear into its surroundings. What drives this profound need for anonymity in both the wild and the human heart? When does the art of blending in become a prison, and when is it a powerful, life-saving act of self-preservation? The networking event felt like a gauntlet. Sarah walked into the buzzing hotel ballroom. The clinking of glasses and a cacophony of unfamiliar voices immediately overwhelming her senses. Her carefully rehearsed opening lines dissolved into a nervous flutter in her stomach. She saw familiar faces, but the thought of approaching them, of initiating conversation, filled her with a paralyzing dread. Her social anxiety wasn't just shyness. It was a visceral fear of judgment, of saying the wrong thing, of being exposed as inadequate. She instinctively sought the edges of the room, gravitating towards potted plants and decorative pillars, trying to make herself smaller, less visible. Her breathing became shallow. Her smile felt fixed and unnatural. The overwhelming desire to disappear was palpable, a desperate yearning for the invisibility that would allow her to escape the crushing weight of social scrutiny. She felt trapped in her own skin, a spotlight illuminating her every perceived flaw. This intense desire to disappear and the accompanying social anxiety find a profound, almost literal, parallel in the mimic octopus's masterful use of camouflage. This extraordinary cephalopod, an unparalleled chameleon of the deep, possesses chromatophores that allow it to instantaneously change its skin texture and color to precisely match its surrounding environment, the sandy seabed, a rocky crevice, or even a patch of coral. Its primary goal is not to attract attention, but to avoid being noticed by predators or prey. Its camouflage is a sophisticated act of invisibility, a seamless integration with its surroundings. This isn't merely blending in. It's a profound self-erasure, a biological imperative to become one with its background, a testament to the power of anonymity as a survival strategy in a world teeming with danger. The human experience of social anxiety and the associated desire to become invisible mirrors the mimic octopus' use of camouflage on both a psychological and neurological level. In humans, social anxiety often involves an overactive amygdala, which interprets social situations as potential threats, leading to a fight, flight, or freeze response that manifests as withdrawal or avoidance. Individuals with this condition may develop coping mechanisms involving behavioral camouflage, avoiding eye contact, speaking softly, adopting neutral body language, or mirroring others to blend in. Evolutionary psychology suggests that the desire to avoid negative social attention has deep roots. In tribal societies, ostracization could be a death sentence. Just as the octopus camouflages to avoid being seen as prey, a person with social anxiety attempts to become emotionally and physically invisible to avoid perceived social threats. prioritizing safety through anonymity over genuine connection or self-expression. Sarah felt the suffocating pressure of visibility, the internal battle between her longing for acceptance and her overwhelming desire to simply cease to exist in the eyes of others. She was confronting the very essence of her social anxiety, the belief that being seen meant being judged and found wanting. Would she continue to live her life at the periphery, perpetually camouflaged against the vibrant tapestry of human interaction? Or would she, like a mimic octopus deciding to reveal itself for a moment of purposeful action, dare to step out from the shadows, risking the discomfort of being seen for the chance of genuine connection? Her instinct was to hide, to blend in, to become invisible. But the profound loneliness, the unfulfilled yearning for authentic presence, now demanded a different, more courageous choice. She had to acknowledge that her camouflage was not just protecting her, but also isolating her. The mimic octopus as masterful camouflage offers a profound metaphor for the human struggle with social anxiety and the powerful desire to disappear. It teaches us that while blending in can offer a sense of temporary safety, a life lived in constant invisibility often comes at the cost of authentic connection and self-expression. By understanding the primal impulse that drives the octopus to become one with its surroundings, we are invited to confront the origins of our own tendencies to hide. May we learn from the mimic octopus to discern when our camouflage is serving us and when it is hindering our growth, and to understand that true freedom lies not in invisibility, but in the courage to be seen, even with our perceived flaws, allowing for genuine connection in the messy, beautiful landscape of human interaction. Mark sat at his desk, staring at the avalanche of emails, each one a new demand, a new urgent task. The phone rang incessantly. Colleagues popped their heads into his office, and his calendar blinked with back-to-back meetings. A tightening knot formed in his stomach, spreading through his chest. He felt profoundly, intensely overwhelmed, as if the sheer volume of stimuli was physically crushing him. His thoughts raced, fragmented and incoherent, unable to prioritize or focus. He wanted to scream, to lash out, but instead, an overwhelming urge to simply disappear enveloped him. He imagined simply walking out, not coming back, dissolving into the anonymity of the city. This feeling of being deluged by life's demands, of having no mental space to breathe, led to a desperate fantasy of complete escape, a total erasure of his presence from the chaotic demands of his world. This overwhelming sensation of being deluged by stimuli and the subsequent desire to escape finds a captivating parallel in the mimic octopus' astonishing ability to change its shape as a defensive mechanism. Unlike simple camouflage, the mimic octopus takes its deception a step further. It will contort its body and tentacles to imitate other, often more dangerous marine creatures like venomous sea snakes, lionfish, or flatfish. This isn't about blending in. It's about creating such a profound visual distraction or threat display that a predator is confused, deterred, or simply chooses to move on. Its goal is to effectively disappear from the predator's immediate focus by transforming into something else entirely. This shape-shifting is an ultimate act of avoidance, a dramatic performance designed to divert attention and allow for escape, effectively making the octopus disappear as a viable target. The human experience of feeling overwhelmed and the resulting desire to disappear through avoidance or escape mirrors the mimic octopus as shape-shifting defense. In human neurobiology, chronic overwhelming stress can lead to cognitive overload, impacting the prefrontal cortex's ability to manage tasks and attention. The amygdala may trigger an overwhelmed response, leading to a shutdown or a strong desire to flee the situation. Psychologically, when individuals feel bombarded by demands, be they work, social, or emotional, they might resort to shape-shifting behaviors, becoming passive, unresponsive, or emotionally absent, effectively making themselves disappear from the immediate pressure. They might procrastinate, withdraw, or engage in escapist behaviors, to mentally or physically transform out of the overwhelming situation. The underlying instinct is to avoid confrontation with overwhelming stimuli by becoming unrecognizable or inaccessible to the source of stress, prioritizing immediate relief through disengagement. Mark felt the crushing weight of his responsibilities, and the desperate fantasy of escape felt increasingly real. He was confronting the limits of his own resilience, the breaking point where his mind and body simply yearned for non-existence in the face of relentless demands. Would he continue to drown under the deluge, constantly fantasizing about disappearing, without addressing the root cause? Or would he, like a mimic octopus carefully choosing its defense, learn to strategically disengage, to set boundaries, or to communicate his needs, effectively shape-shifting his approach to stress rather than his entire self? His instinct was to run, to become invisible. But the persistent stress, the continuous feeling of being overwhelmed, now demanded a different, more conscious choice. He had to acknowledge that his disappearing act was only a temporary reprieve, not a lasting solution. The mimic octopus as shape-shifting escape offers a profound metaphor for the human struggle with feeling overwhelmed and the fully instinctive desire to disappear through avoidance. It teaches us that while dramatic changes in behavior can offer temporary relief from intense pressure, true resilience lies in developing effective strategies for managing stress rather than simply escaping it. By observing the octopus's ingenious ways of diverting attention, we are invited to confront our own patterns of disengagement when faced with overwhelming situations. May we learn from the mimic octopus to recognize when we are pushed to our limits, to explore conscious ways of setting boundaries or adapting our approach, and to understand that true freedom from overwhelm lies not in wishing to disappear, but in mastering the art of strategic self-preservation and effective engagement with the complexities of life. Eleanor lived her life in muted tones. At work, she always sat in the back of the meeting room. In social gatherings, she was the quiet observer, never the center of attention. When given an opportunity to speak up or take credit for her ideas, a strange discomfort would ripple through her, a visceral urge to deflect the spotlight. This profound avoidance of attention wasn't shyness. It was an active, almost spiritual desire for anonymity. She believed that remaining unnoticed was the safest way to navigate the world, to avoid criticism, judgment, or the burden of expectation. Her voice would often drop to a near whisper, her movements subtle. This persistent effort to blend into the background, to exist without being truly seen, left her feeling emotionally flat, her true self hidden beneath layers of carefully constructed invisibility, perpetually afraid of the very spotlight she unconsciously avoided. The mimic octopus's entire life is a testament to the power of avoiding attention through masterful anonymity. Its remarkable ability to not only change color, but to also subtly alter its texture and even its posture allows it to seamlessly disappear into the complex patterns of the seabed, mimicking a rock, a piece of algae, or even just a shadow. Its survival strategy is less about confrontation and more about achieving complete anonymity. It aims to be so perfectly integrated into its environment that it becomes virtually invisible to predators and unseen by unsuspecting prey. This continuous effort to go unnoticed is a fundamental biological imperative, a testament to the profound safety found in obscurity. For the mimic octopus, the absence of attention is not a drawback. It is the ultimate state of security and a pathway to successful foraging and evasion. The human impulse to avoid attention and seek anonymity directly mirrors the mimic octopus's survival strategy. In human psychology, this behavior can stem from a variety of factors, including low self-esteem, past experiences of public shame or humiliation, social anxiety, or a desire to avoid responsibility. The prefrontal cortex may actively suppress behaviors that draw attention, while the amygdala may trigger discomfort or fear in situations that put one in the spotlight. Evolutionary psychology suggests that in certain social contexts, blending in and avoiding individual attention could have offered safety from tribal punishment or competition. However, in modern life, a persistent avoidance of attention can hinder personal growth, career advancement, and the formation of genuine relationships. Just as the mimic octopus survives by being an expert in anonymity, a person who constantly avoids attention lives a life where their true self remains hidden, sacrificing opportunities for recognition and connection in the name of perceived safety. Eleanor felt the profound emotional cost of her relentless pursuit of anonymity. Her carefully constructed invisibility was also a barrier, preventing others from truly knowing her and hindering her own self-expression. She was confronting the paradox of her desire. The more she tried to avoid attention, the more isolated and unseen she felt. Would she continue to live a life in muted tones, perpetually fading into the background, safe but unfulfilled? Or would she, like a mimic octopus momentarily breaking its camouflage to signal or hunt, dare to allow herself to be seen, to speak her truth, to embrace the vulnerability of visibility, even if it meant risking judgment? Her instinct was to hide, to remain unnoticed. But the profound longing for authentic expression, for a life lived fully and vibrantly, now demanded a different, more courageous choice. She had to acknowledge that her anonymity was not just protecting her, but also diminishing her. The mimic octopus is masterful avoidance of attention through anonymity offers a poignant metaphor for the human struggle to balance safety with authentic presence. It teaches us that while blending in can offer protection, a life lived constantly beneath the radar can prevent us from realizing our full potential and forming meaningful connections. By observing the octopus's dedication to remaining unnoticed, we are invited to confront the fears that keep us hidden. May we learn from the mimic octopus to recognize when our desire for anonymity is serving us and when it is becoming a prison, and to understand that true empowerment lies not in perpetual invisibility, but in the courage to selectively step into the light, allowing our authentic selves to be seen and appreciated for who we truly are. Liam carried a deep hidden sense of shame from a past mistake. It wasn't something he openly discussed. Instead, it manifested as a constant pressure to present a flawless, carefully constructed image to the world. He worked tirelessly to be perceived as competent, kind, and successful, believing that if anyone saw the real him, the flawed, ashamed person beneath the facade, he would be utterly rejected. This profound fear of exposure, driven by shame, led him to live a life of constant disguise. He mimicked the behaviors he thought were expected of him, adopted opinions that weren't truly his own, and avoided any situation that might force him to reveal his authentic self. His life felt like a perpetual performance, exhausting and inauthentic, leaving him isolated by the very walls he built to protect his hidden wound. The mimic octopus's most astounding defense mechanism is its ability to not just camouflage, but to actively disguise itself by imitating other, often more dangerous animals. It can contort its body to look like a venomous sea snake, a lionfish, or even a flatfish, deliberately taking on the appearance and behavior of another creature. This is a profound act of deception driven by survival. It aims to deter predators by making itself appear undesirable or threatening. The octopus isn't hiding itself as an octopus. It's hiding behind another identity, effectively shedding its own form to avoid being preyed upon. This masterful disguise is a testament to its ingenuity in avoiding harm by presenting a false, protective image. For the mimic octopus, shame is overcome by adopting a powerful, intimidating identity, even if it's not its true self. The human experience of shame and the resulting tendency to adopt disguises or false personas directly mirrors the mimic octopus's deceptive imitation. In human psychology, shame is a deeply painful emotion often linked to a belief that one is fundamentally flawed or unworthy of love. To avoid this excruciating feeling, individuals may develop intricate coping mechanisms, creating a false self or adopting a disguise to hide their perceived inadequacies. The social mask is an attempt to control how others perceive them, to avoid potential judgment or rejection. Evolutionary psychology suggests that the desire to maintain social standing and avoid ostracization, which can be triggered by shame, was crucial for group survival. Just as the mimic octopus disguises itself to avoid being preyed upon, a person consumed by shame might live a life of inauthenticity, perpetually hiding their true self behind a carefully constructed facade, believing that their real self is inherently unacceptable. Liam felt the immense burden of his disguise, the constant pressure of maintaining a flawless facade. He was confronting the profound loneliness and inauthenticity that shame had imposed upon his life. Would he continue to live a lie, perpetually hiding his true self behind a carefully constructed persona, forever isolated by his own fear of exposure? Or would he, like a mimic octopus deciding to return to its original form and safety, dare to shed his disguise, to expose his vulnerabilities and imperfections to a trusted few, even if it meant risking judgment or rejection? His instinct was to hide, to perform, to protect his shame. But the profound exhaustion of maintaining the facade, the yearning for genuine connection and self-acceptance, now demanded a different, more courageous choice. He had to acknowledge that his disguise was not just protecting him, but also suffocating him. The mimic octopus, as masterful disguise through imitation, offers a powerful and poignant metaphor for the human struggle with shame and the tendency to hide behind false personas. It teaches us that while adopting a disguise might offer temporary protection from judgment, a life lived in inauthenticity ultimately leads to profound isolation and prevents genuine self-acceptance. By observing the octopus's ingenious method of evasion, we are invited to confront the hidden shame that compels us to wear masks. May we learn from the mimic octopus to recognize when our disguises are hindering our true selves, to understand that vulnerability, though terrifying, is the pathway to authentic connection, and that true freedom from shame lies not in perpetual disguise, but in the courageous act of revealing our authentic selves, imperfections and all, to those who offer acceptance. Maria had always felt like an outsider, a ghost in her own life. In groups, she'd often go unnoticed, her opinions unheard, her presence seemingly evaporating. This wasn't always a negative thing. Sometimes she actively sought this invisibility, finding a strange comfort in the lack of expectations, the freedom from scrutiny. But it was also a painful void, a constant reinforcement of her feeling of being unvalued. She yearned to make an impact, to be seen and appreciated, but a deep-seated resignation to her own elusiveness, a pervasive need for invisibility, prevented her from stepping forward. Her voice would barely rise above a murmur, her contributions tentative. She believed that her safest existence was one where she left no discernible footprint, perpetually gliding through life without drawing attention, a silent observer of her own unlived potential. The mimic octopus embodies the ultimate need for invisibility, its entire existence centered around eluding detection. Unlike some predators that rely on brute force, the mimic octopus thrives on elusiveness. It excels at disappearing into its environment, not just through camouflage but through its movements, its ability to flatten its body, to blend seamlessly with the seabed. Its invisibility is not just a passive state but an active, intelligent choice. It understands that by being truly unnoticeable, it avoids confrontation, conserves energy, and maximizes its chances of survival. This profound drive for elusiveness is a constant, strategic effort to remain outside the focus of attention, to be so perfectly integrated with its surroundings that it effectively ceases to exist as an individual entity in the eyes of others. For the mimic octopus, anonymity is the ultimate form of power, the power to go unseen, to escape. The human need for invisibility, whether conscious or unconscious, aligns deeply with the mimic octopus's elusive nature. In human psychology, this need can stem from a variety of factors: social anxiety, trauma, low self-esteem, or a desire to avoid responsibility or conflict. Individuals who feel this need may adopt a quiet demeanor, avoid leadership roles, or shy away from expressing strong opinions. The brain's fear circuits can be activated when attention is perceived, leading to withdrawal. Evolutionary psychology suggests that in certain social structures, remaining inconspicuous might have offered protection from rivalry or persecution. However, a persistent need for invisibility can lead to a profound lack of self-expression, unfulfilled potential, and chronic feelings of being overlooked. Just as the mimic octopus survives by being an expert in elusiveness, a person driven by the need for invisibility lives a life where their true impact remains hidden, sacrificing personal agency and meaningful connection for the perceived safety of anonymity. Maria felt the hollow comfort of her own invisibility, a paradox that both protected and diminished her. She was confronting the true cost of her elusiveness, the profound sense of being unheard and unvalued. Would she continue to live on the sidelines, a silent observer, forever wishing to be seen but unwilling to risk the discomfort of visibility? Or would she, like a mimic octopus, choosing to emerge from its elusive state for a moment of purposeful interaction, dare to step into the light, to speak her truth, to make her presence known, even if it meant risking the uncomfortable spotlight of attention? Her instinct was to shrink, to vanish, to leave no trace. But the aching desire to make a difference, to be seen and appreciated for her unique contributions, now demanded a different, more courageous choice. She had to acknowledge that her invisibility was not just protecting her, but also holding her captive. The mimic octopus's masterful elusiveness and profound need for invisibility offer a powerful, complex metaphor for the human struggle to balance self-protection with authentic presence. It teaches us that while blending into the background might offer temporary safety, a life lived in constant obscurity often comes at the cost of personal impact and genuine connection. By observing the octopus's strategic art of going unseen, we are invited to confront the fears that compel us to remain invisible. May we learn from the mimic octopus to recognize when our desire for anonymity is serving us and when it's hindering our growth, and to understand that true empowerment lies not in perpetual elusiveness, but in the courageous choice to selectively step forward, allowing our unique light to shine, even when it means embracing the vulnerability of being seen and acknowledged. Thomas had spent years building walls, perfecting his vanishing acts, always seeking to avoid attention and confrontation. He had become a master of blending in, of making himself elusive. But beneath the surface, a profound loneliness festered, a deep yearning to be truly seen and accepted, flaws and all. The constant effort of maintaining his invisibility was exhausting, leaving him emotionally depleted and disconnected. He yearned for a life where he could simply be, without the need for camouflage or disguise. He understood, intellectually, that his defensive mechanisms, while once protective, were now imprisoning him. He felt an intense, unbearable pressure to shed these old patterns, to finally reveal his true form. But the fear of exposure, of the potential for rejection, was immense. This moment was a profound confrontation with his own authenticity, a terrifying leap towards healing and genuine connection. His hands trembled, his breath caught in his throat, poised on the brink of a radical transformation. The mimic octopus, despite its unparalleled mastery of disguise and camouflage, ultimately has a true form. It returns to this natural, unimitated state when it feels safe, when there is no perceived threat, or when it engages in behaviors like mating or undisturbed foraging. Its acts of imitation are strategic, temporary defenses, not its inherent identity. The octopus does not become a sea snake. It mimics a sea snake. When the danger passes, or when it needs to move freely and efficiently, it sheds its borrowed identity and reverts to its own unique self-bodied form. This return to its true self is a natural part of its existence, signifying a state of security and an absence of immediate threat. It demonstrates that the ultimate goal of its evasive strategies is not perpetual disguise, but the ability to safely return to its authentic state when conditions allow, to simply be an octopus. The human journey of healing from the desire to disappear ultimately involves a courageous return to one's true form, much like the mimic octopus. In human psychology, therapy often focuses on helping individuals dismantle maladaptive coping mechanisms and reconnect with their authentic selves. This process requires building internal safety and learning to tolerate vulnerability. The ventromedial prefrontal cortex, involved in self-awareness and emotional regulation, plays a crucial role in accepting one's true identity, flaws and all. Evolutionary psychology suggests that while self-preservation instincts are powerful, humans also possess an innate drive for self-actualization and authentic connection. Just as the mimic octopus returns to its true form when safe, a person undergoing healing learns to shed their disguises, embracing their authentic self, even if it means confronting the discomfort of being truly seen, prioritizing genuine connection over perpetual anonymity. Thomas felt the immense weight of his carefully constructed invisibility, the masks he wore, the roles he played. He was now forced to confront the profound choice. Would he continue to live a life of performance and guardedness, perpetually hiding his true self from the world and from himself? Or would he, like a mimic octopus, finally feeling safe enough to shed its disguise, dare to unveil his authentic self, to embrace his vulnerabilities, and to risk the discomfort of being truly seen for the profound reward of genuine connection and self-acceptance? His instinct was to hide, to maintain the safety of anonymity. But the deep, persistent ache of loneliness, the unfulfilled yearning for a life lived with integrity and true intimacy, now demanded the ultimate act of courage, revealing his true self. The mimic octopus's return to its true form after an act of disguise or camouflage offers a powerful, hopeful metaphor for the human journey of healing from the desire to disappear. It teaches us that while protective mechanisms are vital for survival, true liberation and fulfillment lie in the courageous act of shedding our masks and embracing our authentic selves. By observing the octopus's ability to revert to its natural state when safe, we are invited to cultivate internal safety and bravely dismantle the walls we've built. May we learn from the mimic octopus that our worth is not dependent on our ability to blend in or deceive, and that the profoundest freedom lies in the courage to reveal our true selves' imperfections, and all allowing for genuine connection and a life lived with unwavering authenticity.